Sanbonani, Southern Africa, Sanbonani, Far Eastern Catholic News. This is Kati Dijane, and I'm very excited and humbled that I am sitting next to a very, very important priest and guest for this conversation. As we all know that Pope Leo XIV has proclaimed that this year is a special Jubilee year where we are commemorating the 800-year anniversary of the death of St Francis of Assisi. And we just wanted to localize it and bring it back home here in South Africa, Southern Africa that is, particularly the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. We just want to see how we can also obtain these plenary indulgences, what it should mean for us as South Africans. And I think it's very important because St Francis of Assisi was a big voice that called for peace. We know him as one of the patron saints for calling for peace. And it's a very important time now with all the wars that are breaking out, wars against Christianity, wars that have been happening in Africa. And this is a very special moment as we just want to have this conversation and to educate one another in terms of this Jubilee and what it should mean for us as a church in Southern Africa. And I have a special guest, as I mentioned, Father Mphela, and I would love for him to really introduce himself, particularly in terms of the friars, the Franciscan order. And yes, so he has very special roles that he's playing within the congregation itself. He's the coordinator for ongoing formation, as well as the coordinator for all the Franciscans in South Africa, and is also a vicar for education here in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. But we're going to talk more about those things before we get to the gist of the conversation, which I did introduce about the 800-year celebration of the death of St Francis of Assisi. We saw on the 22nd of February to the 22nd of March his mortal remains being displayed in the Basilica at Assisi, and it's one of the things that we are doing to live and celebrate this momentous occasion. Now, Father, thank you so much for agreeing to do this interview with us.
Well, thanks very much. Yes, indeed. This is a special year, not only for the Franciscans, but for the whole world, especially not only for Catholics, but for everyone. And the reason behind this, we are celebrating the life of the person whom really he made a mark. He left the mark in this world. You can just imagine at the death of someone else, and you are reading the obituary. And now we are talking about Francis, and we are trying to put things together and see what he has given us and what he has started, and ourselves now to take that to the end of the world.
Most definitely, Father. I mean, for a man that was born to wealth, he was the son of a wealthy merchant, and after his spiritual conversion, he decided to give it all up to make sure that he is closer to very poor people. And so many beautiful things can be mentioned about St. Francis of Assisi. What drew you to him? So before we just talk about St. Francis of Assisi, I would like now to direct it to you in terms of an introduction of who you are as a Father Soli and your priesthood vocation. What drew you to the priesthood and why did you choose the friars?
Thanks very much, Kati. And I am Father Sekabata Solomon Mphela, yes, indeed, a Franciscan Catholic priest and working, yes, in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg, and also a lecturer in St John Vianney Seminary. And as a Franciscan, yes, I'm looking after the ongoing formation, meaning that I'm trying to look at the well-being of all the friars, in South Africa, and also I'm the coordinator of the Franciscan Congregations in Southern Africa. We normally meet actually once a year, and this year we'll be celebrating also 50 years since it has started, Franciscan Association. That is the part of the duties which I'm doing. Yes, you mentioned that also being vicar of education, looking after the education in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg. Education is very important. We know that if you want to kill the nation, you don't need an atomic bomb, but you just need to remove education, remove knowledge, then know that you have killed the nation. Now, coming to the reason I became a Franciscan, well, actually, I didn't want to become a Catholic priest. I just wanted to become a simple brother, a Franciscan, teaching maths and science while I was growing up. Those were the subjects I loved so much. But then I joined, yes, Franciscans, who gave me that opportunity, yes, of teaching maths and science at my early stage. But along the way, then I opted to become, I felt that calling of becoming a priest in the Franciscan family. And that will basically the reason why I chose. And part of it is that when you talk of the Franciscans, those who know science, we talk of unity in diversity, meaning that we are gifted in doing whatever you can do. All Franciscans are called to do whatever they can, as long as whatever you're going to do is going to bring someone closer and closer to God. Meaning that we are not focusing on one thing, but we are focusing at diverse things.
Definitely, Father. So I would like to still be on the topic of your vocation. Reason I'm asking that is that we are planting seeds. We young people are watching this channel, so we just want to know the various ways in which God calls them into priesthood. So for your journey, we saw that St Francis of Assisi encountered a leper, and it was one of his transformations. So for you, what was your encounter for you to join the priesthood?
What touched me actually was their simplicity, how they interact with a different age of people, the old people and the young people, and also how they worked in different places. I remember when I was very young, I used to see them walking, not barefoot, but I mean with sandals, from one location to the other, from one street to the other, and people, they knew that, well, those people are very poor. Then I said in my heart that, I would like to follow that kind of an example, because now this wealth, as Francis will say, it doesn't help us that much, it doesn't help us at all, but we need to help the people and to take them where they are and give them a better kind of life. I met different kind of Franciscans. There were Franciscans I met who were really highly educated. And again, I remember one time I was just, drinking coffee with them, meeting the ones who are highly educated and the ones who are working in the garden. Now you can imagine that kind of conversation. Then you might end up saying, but what are you talking about? Now that kind of simplicity, it made me to love, the Franciscans.
Very interesting that the late Pope Francis is the only Pope who was named after St Francis of Assisi.
Yes, correct. Yes, correct. Because of simplicity, actually, he touched our hearts. Remember, the world now was moving to another direction. And we needed someone to remind the world, to say, hey, slow down. We have the poor among us. Let's not leave them behind. And let's try by all means, whatever we do, to interact with the world. Let's not leave the poor behind. We need each other. But also we forget that everyone, we are poor in different ways.
Most definitely. And this month, April, we are marking 1 year since his passing. So may his soul rest in peace. Now, we just want to go now to the topic of this Jubilee that we're celebrating. What does it mean? What should it mean to an ordinary person who's not associated to this Franciscan orders?
You'll imagine the world, the way the world is. And during Francis, the way the world was. And remember, during his time, no one could think that there'll be a young man like Francis who tried by all means to change the face of the world. You're from the family which is a little bit wealthy, having things, and you're moving out of that kind of a thing. First and foremost, you are fighting actually with your father because the business of your father is growing. And you're trying to say, well, Dad, let's give things to the poor. And we've got the challenge where the richer becomes more richer and the poorer becomes more poorer. And France was trying to make sure that you build a bridge which is going to be able, to communicate both sides. Remember what you took from the shop of his father, taking all those beautiful clothes. Remember, his baptismal name was John, and he got this name Francis because his father used to buy the cloth in France, and beautiful texture. And Francis taking this texture, giving it to the poor and selling it to the poor is where the father became angry. And when the father fought him, Francis took off his clothes. He remained naked, and he said, take what belongs to you. You are no longer my father. I've got only one father in heaven. Now imagine a person doing that. Who can believe that? I can do it, yes, but tomorrow I have to go back and say, well, maybe Dad, sorry whatever I've done, because I know that things tomorrow will turn against me. You look the faith which he had. He's doing these things because he just loved Christ. And for me, I'll take it as an opening of his conversion, a turning point of conversion where you say, all this, belong to the world, and myself, I'm going to follow Jesus himself. But also he can take back also his conversion. Remember, his father loved him so much that he was also in the battle of Spoleto, bought him a horse, going to these wars, fighting, and all those kind of things. And there was a voice which says, whom do you want to follow, the master or the world? Francis has to choose. Then people are so angry. Why? Because he had whatever it takes to be in that war, but he decided to turn back. Now imagine if you have whatever it takes to fulfill whatever the world is in need of, but then you say, I'm turning back to do these kind of things.
So with that said, what is a plenary indulgence? So if I'm hearing this interview and I'm just an ordinary lay person, and I've been hearing that there's this Jubilee taking place, we're celebrating 800 years of his death, what should it mean to me as a Catholic?
Well, I'll take you a little bit in the history of the plenary indulgences. Remember the 2nd of August, normally, when all the friars, the whole world, we go to Assisi, and there is this beautiful chapel, Pozioncula. The belief is that when Francis was there, he saw a vision, the vision. And this vision said, Francis, whoever come into this chapel, whoever come to this place and ask for this, he or she will be granted whatever is in need of. But obviously, there should be a change of heart. Obviously, there should be a change of mind. Obviously, there should be a turn away from other things. Basically, plenary indulgences, it means that, yes, I've got these things which are heavy on my shoulder. I've got these sins which I've committed. I've got whatever I want to remove. Only what I'm looking for is a gift from God, so that everything which troubles me, everything which is on me, I should change or understand it in another way. Most of the time we like our life to be so beautiful, yes, but then we forget that actually other things, we should have that kind of understanding. Everything happened for a reason, and if we understand, it gives that kind of a wisdom of understanding the journey in which I'm in, and also the gift which God has given me, or the wisdom which carries me in understanding the gifts which I have to use for God's kingdom. Plenary indulgences, they help us to get closer and closer to God, and especially for the things which I feel actually they're drawing me away from the love of God, and the things which maybe I'm addicted, yes, in them. There'll be many things, yes, which myself and yourself being addicted in, and this is the moment for plenary indulgences, asking for the gift which God gives us. Go to all the parishes, especially during this period where the Franciscans are working, and also it's open that you go there, confess your sins, and let the Spirit of God work in you.
So a part of my plenary indulgence is that after this interview, I have a confession with Father. So
you're welcome.
So, Father, it's interesting now. Franciscans are a global congregation order, and we also are blessed to have them here in South Africa. I mean, shout out to Cardinal Wilfred Fox Dalpia from Esho. He's also a Franciscan. Bishop Mtutuzi Zungu as well from Port Elizabeth, and the Emeritus Archbishop William Slattery. So we are blessed here in South Africa.
And the late Michael Pascal, who was in Dundee, and the late Mike Bright, who was in Kokstad.
Yes. So yes, we are blessed with Franciscans having arrived here. I'm not sure if Google said 1920s or 30s. You will tell us more about it. And you are also based in the Val Deanery. Can you tell us about over the years, what would you say are some of the milestones the Franciscans have achieved here in South Africa,
well,
in the Archdiocese of Johannesburg?
In coming to South Africa, the first thing they did actually, which we cannot forget, it is the education to the clergy in South Africa. Mm-hmm. They're the ones who did build St John Vianney Seminary. Actually, Father Beggars Barrett, he's the one who was the champion who really built St John Vianney Seminary. We know that historically it started in Queenstown, but when it came to Pretoria, Pretoria, it was in the hands of the Franciscans. And we go to different dioceses where the Franciscans, they did work very, very hard, especially in evangelization. Let's go first and foremost to Eshowe Diocese, where we have seen the German Franciscans actually, who were there before. And after that, we go to Dundee Diocese, the English Franciscans. Then we go to Kokstad Diocese, where we have the Irish Franciscans. Then we come to the Vaal and to the Johannesburg Archdiocese, where we had also the Irish Franciscans. You go to the seminary, we had the Irish Franciscans, and during the years now, there was amalgamation. Remember when they left their own countries for missionary work in South Africa, what they did, each and every province, wherever they belong, they were given a portion to work at. For example, as I mentioned, Eshowe, you'll have the German, the Bavarian. You go to Kokstad, the Irish. You come to Dundee, the English. You go to Pretoria, the Irish, and all over. Then lately now there was just amalgamation. Then we came together and built South African province. Normally, actually, we are the order, yes, South African province, where now all the Franciscans from all these provinces where they come from internationally, they came together. And as I said, the work they are doing extensively, the education of the clergy in South Africa, people like Bonaventure Hinwood, people like Fergus Barrett, people like Hyacinth Ennis. Then you go into the Lumko, Anselm Pryor, Lumko in catechesis, that is the work they did. You go back to the Vaal, Father Ben and Fai, who's still alive, actually is the oldest one now, in his 90s, working now with the Sisters of Marseilles in Bloemfontein.
Wow, that is so beautiful. And so now, if we can just take it now into the South African context, I mean, there are so many things we are dealing with, social issues, and I love how education is an important part of the friars pertaining to the education of clergy. If we can tie it to your portfolio as the vicar for education, how important is education in the context that we find ourselves in, where unemployment is rife, where corruption is rife, and it's so difficult for the child to even find education in an empty stomach, and now things are rising. So if you can try give us a message of hope in terms of how we can find our way to getting this education we need, considering the context we are living in South Africa.
First and foremost, I'll say people, they might steal whatever they want to steal from you, but education, they cannot steal that, because this is who you are. And education is going to build you to understand the way things are, to be objective. I've used to hear people saying that, well, why should I go and study, and at the end of the day, I'm not going to be employed? It's not only about employment, but it's about understanding the world, the shift which is happening around us, understanding the war, being objective of whatever is happening around us. And as I said at the beginning, that if you want to kill the nation, just remove education. Atomic bomb is not going to kill the nation. Well, it will kill the nation, but education is going to destroy the nation forever, in a sense that, the sense of thinking, the sense of trying to see things with another eye, the sense of being human. For us to be human to each other is because of education. For us to understand and also to try to repair the damage which happens socially is because the importance of education. It helps us to do that. Let's just take different places and how things are. Take our locations where we'll find that, we look down upon education, and unfortunately, even the educators themselves not taking it serious. Sometimes they go there to get salaries. Yes, you need something to live on, but it is unfortunate that it is no longer a vocation, to be an educator. One of those days when it used to be a vocation where you will journey with a child until he or she grows. Today we can speak fluently different languages. Why? Because of education. We need that. And I'll say to each and every one of us here is that let's invest in education. And education is very, very important. You never stop learning. Learning continues till you go to the grave. And for evangelization, go to the schools, go to different places, put those children from the street in. Make sure that everyone understands. Let's just take one of the issues which we have, climate change. If you understand what is happening with climate change, myself and yourself, we are going to go out and pick those plastics back. We are going to pick those things which make the world to be dirty. Why? Because education has taught us we need education in order to transform the world. Education transforms the mind, transforms the world. It takes you out of darkness and at least brings light in you.
Most definitely, Father. Education is very important, and I think it's so heartbreaking that a lot of the Catholic schools have been closing. 2025 saw the closure of so many other institutions, Catholic schools. So how are you as the vicar trying to address the issue that we are facing? Yes, education is important, government schools are important, but now how do we try and, sustain what's left of the education institutions that are Catholic in Johannesburg?
Look, it's very, very sad, yes, to see a school, being closed because of the roll call of the learners, numbers going down. And part of the reason the numbers goes down is because we are a school fee paying schools. And now the government schools, obviously, they don't pay school fees. But then you look at the quality, but also the lifestyle of the people in the country. We know that people, they like things which are for free. But let me tell you, even if it is free, you're going to pay a price at the later stage. I will encourage that. Let's invest in education. Take our children to these schools where we pay fees. It's not only for good results, but it's also for behavior change, morality. It is also for changing the mind of the young person. It is also to build them up to be tomorrow leaders. It is also to build them up to see and also build those who are coming after them. So this holistic way of how to bring these children up and also bring them in such a way that tomorrow they will know how to deal with difficult issues. And let's just take even a little bit back. The Catholics in church history, actually, they brought education to our country, and different missionaries anyway, not only Catholics, but different missionaries, they brought education in different countries and in part of the world, and education, it removes, a web, from your eye. Now, how can we really try to assist that our schools are, sustainable? First and foremost, those children in your parish, look at them. Please make sure that they get good education. Not only good education, but also moral behavior. And our schools, they're offering that. Yes, we might say the school fees, but let's invest. Let's start now by investing, for our children. And also let us, first and foremost, to start with, let us pray for our schools. I wonder if we pray really for our schools, for our learners and educators. This is where we have to start. With prayer, we'll be able to win this fight.
Yes, definitely, Father. Prayer is very important. You touched on certain topics, like when you were talking about, if you understand the importance of the ecology of us respecting our planet. St Francis of Assisi is the patron saint of the ecology.
Yes, indeed. Remember when the wolf of Gubbio was troubling the villagers. People will go and hunt and kill it. But Francis, being a peacemaker, he went to talk with a wolf. Imagine that. A patron of ecology. The birds, he used to call them brother, sister, whatever moves is brother, sister. This is there, the creation is there. We are not superior, but we are co-workers. We are in one with creation, whatever God has created. And let's respect creation. And we need education to respect creation. This is so sad in other countries when you visit them, making charcoal through the wood, cutting trees. Obviously, deforestation now is very, very sad, killing, the nature. Remember that one tree you're cutting, how many species of insects or birds, you'll never see them anymore.
Yes, definitely. Now, to try and wrap up this interview, we just also wanted to talk about how you will be celebrating this Jubilee Year and how we can celebrate with you. What plans do you have? Are there sources of information we can maybe look into so that we can accompany one another in this Jubilee Year in South Africa?
Well, thanks very much. We have already started celebrating the 800 year centenary, of the death of our seraphic Father Francis. And what we are doing now, we are spreading the message, obviously, the information. In order to understand him, you have to know him. You have to know history. You have to know where he comes from, and there will be some YouTube from next week, to give us the history of the man Francis, where he started before conversion and towards his end of his life, and also after that, what happened. Now, what we are doing now is that there are programs, obviously, in the SACBC. They produced one of the beautiful pamphlet, actually, on the ecumenism interreligious. When you talk of interreligious, remember 1219, when Francis walked from Europe to Morocco, not to compromise, but to evangelize, to tell them that Christ is God. Beautiful words. And this time we have to learn that in evangelization, Francis never compromised, but he made sure that he evangelized. For example, you go back to 1223, Christmas crib. He's the one who came with it after coming back from Morocco, going back to Europe, and programs going on. The schools now, we've got programs, especially we are opening the year of the Jubilee of St Francis on the 17th of May, that week, which is the week of the Catholic schools, and we've got the program till, the whole year. The Franciscans associations, all the Franciscans in Southern Africa, we have the program also going on. We started already giving talks on different channels, on the YouTubes, online, and I visited a few congregations last week and this week, to give some talk on 800 years, the celebration. Each and every parish now is doing that, thanks to Pope Leo, again, who produced that beautiful prayer, which we encouraged, through the liturgy department and through the parishes, that this is the prayer now to use in different parishes so that we join together. There will be other materials now following up, either on the social media, yes, YouTube included, and other ways of communication will be flowing up on the celebration of the 800 years of the Jubilee of St. Francis.
Thank you so much for giving us your time, Father. I really hope that we have given you as much information as we can. Father mentioned different sources of information. We will definitely link them, and for you to also browse through and see. So let's journey with one another, educate one another pertaining to this special Jubilee Year. And yes, so thank you so much for giving us your time, Father.
Thanks very much, especially for your time, because your time is very, very important to use this kind of social media to spread the word of God, which is very, very important. Sometimes when you stand in front of the people on Sunday, you're only just preaching to few, but with social media, you are preaching to more than 1,000 people. And thanks very much for your work, and may God bless and protect you always.
Thank you very much. Before I let you go, any last words, message of hope to people watching pertaining to this Jubilee?
Look, there are many things happening. We are disturbed. The petrol is high. The diesel is high because of United States, Israel, Iran, all this war around the globe. Look, don't lose hope. We know that the food price will be rising also, and less employment is again hitting us so hard. But whatever is hitting us so hard, Francis made us to have hope, and let's not lose hope, and let us cling on what God has given us, faith, which is very, very important, and things will be better. And let us also assist each other and journey with each other.
Thank you so much. This is how we are wrapping up. I just would like to add on to what the Father said. Now I'm thinking of what Cardinal Stephen Presley, our Archbishop behind us, when he mentioned at the closing of the Jubilee Year of Hope, when he said that we have to act from being pilgrims of hope to being agents of hope. So let us try and help people to restore their hope in whatever that we are going through now, with whatever we have.
Yes, indeed. Those are the words of wisdom.
Thank you very much. Guys, until the next video, I hope you enjoy this conversation. Take care, God bless, and I love you.